All right, the Sort of Sports Podcast, episode number 28. So Big Salad Season 2 with a total of 28 episodes, and my podcast that I've been doing for about a year and a half now, a little over a year and a half, has also 28 episodes. So you see how consistent I am as a content creator. Oh yeah, I am a content creator. Actually, don't ever call me that. That's weird. No, don't call me a content creator. I mean, I guess I create content. I guess I am a content creator, but like I don't really profit. I'm like more like I'm essentially I'm a consumer that happens to do a bit of his own thing. Whatever. Okay. So really in this episode, we're going to talk a lot about NBA playoffs because right now, you know, the Bucks just beat the Celtics yesterday. And I have a lot to say because last night I went and saw Doctor Strange 2, and I bet you were all, you know how I operate. You know I'm really into the Marvel movies and all that. So it's up to you. What do you want to hear first? If you just answered, like, I really appreciate it, thank you. That's very polite, but I can't hear you. So that was a dirty trick. Get pranked. And if you didn't talk back, well, that's rude. I asked you a question. Please answer. I'll give you another shot. All right, thank you. And if you didn't, wow. Wow, bro. Wow. All right, so we're going to start with NBA just because I think I actually kind of don't have a ton to say because I'm going to do a podcast once the second round wraps up and talk about what the conference finals are going to look like. And then, you know, by then you're going to know one of the 4 potential finals matchups. So that's interesting. Wouldn't that be 4? No, 8. There'd be 8 different finals matchups. Isn't that how it works? There's 4 teams. But no, it's because it's 2, so then it'd be... Wait. Yeah, there'd be 4 potential finals matchups, yeah. Because it's only a 2, yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry, math. Whatever. So there'd be 4 potential finals matchups, we'll know that then. But right now, yesterday, what happened yesterday was the Grizzlies lost to the Warriors by 30 points, and the Bucks beat the Celtics by 2 points. So, really, I think, so for those of you who don't know, Milwaukee's now up 2-1, Golden State's 2-1, the 2 teams that I think are going to win the series anyway. So tonight is the night of the less interesting series, the Suns, Mavericks, and the Heat Sixers. This Heat Sixers series, I think, is over. That's just me. This could age really poorly. But, you know, I just think the Heat are the better team. I don't think the Sixers got it right now. Embiid came back, played well, but I think the Heat are better, and they're going to beat them. I think maybe if the Heat go up 3-1, maybe the Sixers – I feel like the Heat are going to win tonight easily. Maybe the Sixers can snag one, but in the grand scheme of things, it's over, big fella. Like, the Heat are winning this. Once I got up 2-0, I'm like, ooh, that might be it. I know it sounds really harsh. It's just the way I was feeling about it. Then for the Suns, Mavericks, now that Booker's back, it just feels like the Suns got it. But Luka's going to put up a fight because he's Luka. But overall, I just think both these series are much less interesting. Whereas the Celtics, Bucks, I can realistically see the Celtics beating the Bucks. That is not a lie. I do think the Bucks will win. I think it might go 6 or 7, but I think the Bucks will win. Grizzlies, Warriors, same thing. The Grizzlies, I think realistically maybe could, much less likely than the Celtics beating the Bucks. But, you know, I think they've got a little something in them. But I do think realistically it only goes 6 games with the Warriors winning. So, did I predict the entire first round correctly? I think I did. Yeah, I think I did. Not like games-wise. Like, I didn't get the games right, but like overall the winners. I'm not going to act like that's a big deal because it really wasn't that hard to predict. There wasn't a lot of like surprises, like overall as like series winners. But, you know. Yeah, I think I did. If you don't count my play-in predictions, right? You know, because that would the Cavs being in the playoffs. I wish. So, I guess what we should really talk about is, you know, what we've been seeing, and I think we've been really seeing that like Tatum to me is just showing that he's a top-tier talent, but he's not being incredibly consistent, which I find a little weird. But you know, like they'll have some nights, but I guess that's true for all-stars. I just think. Might be me being Giannis biased, but I think Giannis is just showing far and away that he's the best player in the league right now. because it's just like, it feels like anytime the Bucks really need him, he just steps up. And I think that's why they're going to win the finals. I mean, this is why I don't have a ton to say right now. It just feels like everything's kind of fallen in the way that I figured it would. And that's not, I'm not trying to sound like, I know everything, because I 100% do not. I get lucky a lot of these predictions, but I also happen to be very biased towards the player who is legit the best. I mean, Giannis is the best player, and I'm very biased towards him, so I benefit from the fact. Like, if I was biased towards James Harden, then we'd have problems because he's not the best player. So, I can kind of call my shots just based off my bias, and it works. So, I just think it just feels like we're on that collision course for that Warriors-Bucks finals. I do think the Celtics-Bucks series is really fun. Like, you should be watching it. Even if the Bucks go up 3-1 tomorrow night, like, because I'm recording this on Sunday. Happy Mother's Day for all you mothers out there. I bet my mom listened to this podcast. I bought her some hand soap and a candle and hand sanitizer. So, that was my gift. But, I had something I was going to say. Oh, yeah, the Bucks. So, even if they go up 3-1, I still think this series with the Celtics has been very entertaining. And, I think it's been a good playoff. I think these conference finals are going to be very exciting because it's looking like we're going to get Suns Warriors. I think I can just kind of say that, even though, yeah, I'd say that. And if that goes on, that'll be a really hard-fought, probably 7-game series. And then the Heat Bucks could go 5, it could go 7. I mean, it just depends on what's going on. And then the Heat Bucks has gone through every year. It's been a perfect trilogy because it's been 2020 2020 second round, 2021 first round, 2022 conference finals. So it would line up really perfectly, and that's cool. But you know what my opinion is. Celtics Bucks is the real conference finals for the East, and it looks like the Bucks are the Eastern Conference champions. So let's hope that none of these takes age like milk. I'm sorry, I don't have a ton to say. I'm really focused on my Doctor Strange review. So last night, I went and saw Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Now, going into this, I think I'm still at the same place I was with, No Way Home, where I was like, okay, I want something unique. I was, like Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals. I'm like, there was elements I really liked in Shang-Chi, whatever it is. Because I've heard people say both. I don't really think there's a wrong answer, but I'm not sure. I'm going to keep saying Shang-Chi because I've heard both. So, Shang-Chi, I really liked some elements of it, like the first 2 acts, and then the third act when it becomes big dragon battle, I was like, and I don't care anymore. Like, it became a little too, it's like, they're in the writer's room, they're like, well, we have to have a big battle at the end with the monster. We have to have a big ending. We can't just do a karate fight. And I'm like, why not? Be unique. I felt like there was a real lack of uniqueness in the MCU films. And my words to my friends were, well, Spider-Man's a freaking cheat code. Like, I love Spider-Man. We know this. You know this. Everyone knows this. And so I'm obviously going to be biased towards his movies. So that was like, and not even that, like No Way Home is legit really good. And it is more unique, and I loved it. And I'm like, Spider-Man's a cheat code, though, because when they do a really good job with the past 3 Spider-Man movies. Like, Far From Home is the weakest one, and I still put it, I think, second. I think it was still in the Hood Classic tier. I'm going to check real quick. I should actually pull that up. Because I'm going to have a little bit of continuity here, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be proud of me. And I'm going to have, I'm going to add Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness to my tier list that I made when I made No Way Home. When I made No Way Home, yes, I made the film. Thank you. I appreciate all the credit I get. In the credits. So, if you look really closely behind John Watts' name and bold and like the text right below it actually says and Ryan Klinger. It doesn't say directed by John Watts. It says directed by John Watts and Ryan Klinger, really small print. I actually did all the work. So, fun fact. No, okay, so it was in the banger. So we had the bottom tier was Don't Watch. Then we had Watchable, Mid, Banger, and Hood Classics. Far From Home was bottom of Banger. I still agree with that ranking. I probably at some point I'm going to be like, this is wrong. Iron Man 3 is so much better than Watchable. Or I'll say, This is wrong. Ant-Man is not a banger. I was biased because I watched it the day before I made my at some point I'm going to decide that there's a lot of movies on this list I'd like to move around, and I'll redo the list. But for the time being, I'm sticking with it. I'm not going to re-rank the MCU movies every time I see a new one. That's just stupid. But I will add Doctor Strange to this list here in a moment. So I don't know if that moment's going to be in 30 minutes or in 3 minutes. We'll see. I'm really beating around the bush here. I got to get to my main point. So I wanted something unique, and I was very concerned by the MCU's lack of uniqueness. And that's why I was really excited for No Way Home, going into No Way Home. But I was concerned because I felt like Black Widow was just kind of... I really liked Florence Pugh. I thought she was amazing in it. But I felt like the movie didn't have a lot of personality. And, when a Suicide Squad came out, I liked Suicide Squad better than Black Widow. Like, a lot better. There was a lot more personality. It was just fun. I loved it. And I felt like the MCU movies were lacking some personality post-Endgame. And I would put Far From Home, in that category for the pre-Endgame, essentially, because, yes, it came out after Endgame, but I'm talking about the purely, Phase 4 stuff, which would be Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals. When those were your first three, I was like, oh, frick. We're going down a bad path. I do not like where this is headed. Oh, so wait, I have to jump back to the NBA really quick. Quick take. I felt like the awards have been freaking weird this year because I 100% think Mobley should have been Rookie of the Year. I feel like they went with Barnes just because the Raptors had a good record, and Barnes was very deserving, but Mobley, to me, was the best candidate. So that's frustrating. And but I was like, it's not really angering, right? I was like, it should have been Mobley, but it's not like Scotty's undeserving, It'd be like if Jokic won MVP, where I'm like, I think Giannis might be a better case. Actually, no, let's use Embiid, because I think Embiid's the weakest out of the three MVP cases. I think Embiid is the weakest out of the three, but if they went with him, it's not like he's undeserving. Does that make sense? It's not like a completely wrong answer. There's just two answers that are better. It's like you wrote a B-plus essay, and there's other A-plus essays out there, but the B-plus isn't really wrong. It's just you didn't analyze The Great Gatsby as well as you should have. You know what I mean? English class, kids. English class. So... back to what I was saying, though, and that's that I feel like the voters have been weird this year because also they did give Kevin Love was second Sixth Man of the Year, so thank the Lord. That was actually amazing. I'm really happy they did that. But I'm just... I'm trying to think about what to say here. I'm just a little confused because it feels like they're going with... if you sat down and said rank the awards winners from most to least likely, they keep going with the ones that are least likely. Deserve it, but they're least likely. Ja deserved to be most improved player, but I thought he was least likely because I thought Garland was more of a drastic jump. And I thought DeJounte, sometimes I go with the underrated picks. I go with DeJounte. I felt like Ja is the least likely out of three, and they went with Ja. And then for sixth man, there was no way they're going to screw that up. It should have been Hero. People said it should have been Hero from the first week of the league. So the first week of the season. No, first week of the league since 1950. No, since 1957. People were like, yeah, bro. No, sorry, 47, right? NBA 75, 1947. Wouldn't that be how that works? Yeah, it is. It'll be 48, right? No, 47. 46. Wait. Point is, it'd be 46, I think. Point is, yeah, it's 75, yeah. Because then it started in 2021. That's the reason I was getting tripped up. Because 46 to 2021, because that would be the start of the 75th season. Right? I think it's how that works. Let me just clarify. First NBA season. 1949 through 1950. Oh, but there was a 3-year-old BAA basketball American Association. Okay. So, yeah. 1946, yep. Yep, that was the first ever one that they count because it was the NBA was a merger of two leagues. Interesting. All right. All right. So, back to what I was saying, which is the whole NBA thing with the awards. And then, DPOI, thought Marcus Smart was like the least likely candidate out of those three. I was like, I don't think he's gonna get it. I just don't think they'll give it to him, even though he's deserving. And then he got it, and I was very happy for him. I was like, yeah, I wanted him to win out of those three, like the most easily. But I did not really expect that at all. So, I mean, good for Marcus. And then, yeah, that's really it. Then for MVP now, I just think they're gonna go with Embiid. I think they're gonna go with the least likely candidate. So the voters are just been weird. They keep going with the least likely candidates, and I just find that odd. So it's just such a weird thing. That's why I'm saying right now I think they're going to give Embiid MVP, just because they've been weird, and I think they just are just going to give it to him because he's the least likely out of three. So that's odd. All right, so back to the MCU. So when I saw No Way Home, I was very happy because I was like, okay, this is great, and the next three movies have the chance to be very unique because we had Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and I feel like the first Doctor Strange, they reined him in a little too much. You know, I don't think that movie's that good. I put it in the watchable category. I just think it's fine. It's really not that interesting. And, you know, this movie getting Sam Raimi, that's really exciting to me. I was like, this could be really freaking cool. He's very unique. I love the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy. And I was like, they could do something really interesting here. And with the multiverse, I thought that'd open Sam Raimi up to do a lot of different stuff. So I was hoping for something unique. And then, of course, after this, you get Thor 4 with Taika Waititi, which I think has the potential to be like one of the best MCU movies, just because Thor 3 is one of the best. And so I think Thor 4 could be as good, if not better. And especially if they let Waititi do what he wants and be very unique. And then Ryan Coogler is one of the best directors like in the world. And he's got Black Panther 2. And I think, you know, Black Panther is very unique. And so I feel like he's going to make another unique. Like, I just want uniqueness from the MCU right now. I don't want formulaic. I want it to be unique. And that's what I thought about going into this movie. DC's been impressing me. The last movie that they made was Batman. It was one of the most unique superhero movies I've seen in a while, and I love it. I think it's one of the best superhero movies I've seen, period. I love the Batman because it's so unique, and I love how it has its own vibe, and I think the MCU needs to look into having unique vibes for every movie. I just watched Nathan Zed, one of my favorite guys on YouTube. He's makes amazing videos where he's just a really good commentary guy, talked a lot of stuff. And he made a video recently called Vibes Are Better Than Plot, where he's like, there's certain movies like Tenet, he's like, I don't think the plot's really that good, but like the vibes of it, I just like it. He's like, maybe it's a dumb way to look at it, but like the vibe of a movie is very important. And I think that too. Like the Batman has a very distinct vibe, and I really like that. And I think the MCU movies shouldn't all have the same vibe. I think they all need to have if they could all have their own vibe, I think it's a good thing. Yeah, some of them are going to be better than others, but I think having a unique vibe to each movie would bring them all up. Because even if, I guess my review of Doctor Strange 2 is going to be one of the most unique movies in the MCU, but not one of the best. And that's really my review. So thank you all. See you on the next podcast. I'm kidding. I was kidding. No, I've got a lot more to talk about than that, obviously. I just want to see if you believed it. Did you? If you answered yes, I appreciate it. If you didn't answer, rude. And if you said no, well, you know me very well. So good job reading my sarcasm. So let's look at this viewer engagement I'm doing, where I'm talking to you, as in you and I are having a conversation, even though you and I aren't. I mean, you could be listening to this in a group of like 10 people, and then now all of you feel like you're individually being spoken to, even though I'm essentially speaking to no one. So that's a really weird thing going on between us, the relationship between the media and the person right now. I am constantly breaking the fourth wall when I do one of these. It's just kind of weird, ain't it? Huh. And if no one ever watched these, it would be like such a weird thing. If I had no views on all my videos, then it'd be weird because I'm speaking to someone who doesn't exist. That's so weird. Okay, let's move on from that. That's interesting, but nope, I'm just getting off topic. So let's go back to Doctor Strange. So I go into this wanting something unique, and Raimi delivered. I think it's one of the most unique MCU movies. I love the camera work. He had a transition where it literally goes into like a circle and zooms in on Doctor Strange's eye, and then it like zooms out. Like it's like a circle. If you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Also, this is full spoilers. I want to make sure this is clarified. If you didn't know that, leave. All right. Did you leave? So that's not redundant. That's kind of a paradox because if you did leave, you couldn't answer that question. So I played you. Gotcha. But, you know, I want something unique. I keep saying that. Sorry. I don't mean to keep repeating myself. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. So Doctor Strange 2 opens up, and I loved how it immediately thrust you into the film. As soon as the movie opened, 2 hours, 4 minutes. I wish it would have been longer. I know it sounds dumb. Like, some guys were saying it was a little too long. Actually, I take that back. I think it was probably about the perfect length. I felt like it was right about right. Usually, if I'm fine with 2 hour movie. I'm actually at this point more comfortable with 2.5 hour. Like, a lot of the movies I really like. I don't know about that. A lot of the movies I really like. There are some movies I really like because I'm saying when I think about my four favorite movies, which is Spider-Man, which takes up one spot, but it's essentially Homecoming, No Way Home, Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Tobey. Those four movies take up one spot. And then Raiders of the Lost Ark, Beverly Hills Cop, and Lego Movie. And if you're saying, that's stupid, Ryan, they should all take up separate spots, well, it's my list. So, not to be this way, but, like, I'm going to do what I want, bro. Sorry. I don't know why I said bro twice in the same... Like, I think this is the first time... This is not the first time. I think this is the most I've ever used bro in a YouTube video. I don't know why I'm saying bro so much. I don't know if it's a YouTube video, podcast that I put on YouTube. Regardless, it's the most I've said bro. I don't know why I'm doing that. But all right. Regardless, I got to get myself out of saying bro. Regardless, I liked how it just thrust you right at... I was going on the runtime. Let me go back to that. The runtime, 2 hours, 4 minutes. I thought I was about right. And I could have obviously done with more. Like, I would have been fine if it was 2.5 hours of craziness. And I'll get to the craziness here once I talk about the negatives. Right now, I'm just trying to go positive and, like, my initial thoughts. So, I just think 2 hours, 4 minutes, it was about right. So, I could have done more. I don't think less would have worked for me. I think it was about right. Like, I think it was probably good. So, I liked how it thrust you right into the film immediately. They weren't messing around. They hopped right in. And I was very happy for that. I don't like when it plays around. Like, I went and saw No Way Home 4 times. I think I said 4 times when I reviewed it, right? I think I saw it 4 times. And it was 3 times. Yeah, it was 3 times. By the third time, I was just kind of like, okay, let's just get to the part with Tobey and Andrew. Because it kind of just plays around in the first hour. And with this movie, it just thrusts you right in. You're immediately seeing him running with America Chavez. And there was immediately the teleportation to the other multiverse. And Strange dies, like the one from the other universe. And I was like, okay, I like this. They're not effing around. They're jumping us right into the freaking movie. And I like that. Keep doing that. And then we get to where where I went, oh, frick, they let Raimi do what he wanted. Because there's that scene where there's a eyeball monster thing chasing America Chavez. She's not really fighting it. And Doctor Strange goes after her. It's so Raimi the way he shot it, where there's Strange flying with his cape. And it just, like, had the vibe of those 2000s Tobey Spider-Man movies, like the way it was like a civilian being attacked by... Not often in the MCU do they do civilian, like, in the street fight with civilians. Usually if it's an in the street fight, it's the civilians clear out and they don't matter. And the only time they'll do it with civilians is like in Civil War, where they're making a distinct point of, look, people died. And, I just liked that it was kind of like old school 1960s comic booky, where Strange was like flying in to save the day with one civilian being chased by a monster. Like, and the magic in this, I don't know if that was Raimi. I feel like it was, but far and away the best use of magic in the MCU. It was so creative. Like when he made the gears shift, like cog thing that like cut open the car and like sawed off the monster's leg. That was sweet. The best freaking magic scene in the entire movie. If you saw it, which I don't know why you'd be listening to this if you haven't already seen it, because I'm not really explaining it well. I'm just kind of jumping all over the place of excitement. So, you pretty much had to see the movie to understand this. So, the scene, you know what I'm talking about. If you saw the movie, you know what scene I'm talking about. The best fight in the whole movie is when he's fighting the evil Doctor Strange, and he uses... There's a name for him that they gave him in What If, and I can't remember all of a sudden. and he uses the music notes, and when the evil Doctor Strange uses his music notes, they're minor key, but Doctor Strange, the regular one, is major key, and they're fighting, and the music matches it. Oh my gosh! Cinema. That was beautiful. That was the best freaking magic scene in the MCU, period. Point blank. The way they used Doctor Strange magic in here was awesome. I loved it. It was so creative. I loved it. It was very comic booky. I think Sam Raimi has always gotten that. His movies are a little cheesy when he makes superhero movies, like, but they're the right amount. Like, he makes them have this like comic booky vibe that I love, and the Raimi's influence on this movie, I just couldn't get enough of, and yeah, I just dug all the Raimi elements of this, and Danny Elfman's score. I was listening to this movie, I was like, dang, this, I don't usually, like, unless the score's really good, I usually don't notice. I need to pay more attention to the score sometimes. And there was a couple times I'm like, other than once that music scene happened, I was like paying more attention to the music, and I was like, this is good stuff. And then it's Danny Elfman, who's the guy that did the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy, and I was like, this is so freaking cool. Of course it's Danny Elfman. So I guess the biggest Raimi thing in this entire movie is obviously Bruce Campbell. I'm kidding. It's the villain. We'll get to that in a moment. But the Bruce Campbell cameo was funny. I do think it's a little evil how Doctor Strange makes that guy beat himself up for 2 weeks, but it was a fun gag, and the post-credit scene of that, all my friends, I made them stay for the second post-credit scene because I didn't know what it was. And then when it was that, they were all like, dude, Ryan, screw you. We waited for that, and I was laughing. I was like, that's actually pretty funny. So it's always fun to see Bruce Campbell in every single one of Sam Raimi's movies because he's always got to have a cameo. And I was so glad that they let Raimi do what it seemed to be. Overall, they let Raimi do a lot of what he wanted. And now let's get to the biggest part of the movie that worked so well for me. And that was Scarlet Witch as the villain. So lucky for me, I did not see that TV spot that made it pretty clear she was the villain. I used to, when I was younger, would like watch tons of reviews, trailer breakdowns, you name it. I would always be trying to figure out the little secrets in the trailers before the movie came out. And then before the movie came out, I would watch guys' reviews of the movie and figure out what they thought. So when I came in, I could compare what they thought to what I don't do that anymore. I watch a ton of reviews after I see the movie because I like to have my own opinion formed, and then I see what other people thought. Because I figured out that when I was younger, whatever I saw, like my favorite movie reviewer on YouTube has always been Jeremy Johns. And I felt like whatever he said was going to stick out in my head while I watched it, and I'd rather watch it with an open mind and then compare my thoughts to his instead of like having an opinion already set in my head before I've seen it, Because then I'm just trying to disprove that opinion, essentially. Or prove that opinion. Same thing. So I don't want to go in of much. I try to go in of not too much preconceived notion. I started doing that when it was... And then there's some movies I don't do that with, like I watched the review beforehand. But anymore, I really try to stray away from spoilers or reviews. I just like to go out there and then I read what everybody else thought after. I love watching reviews after I've watched the movies just to see what other people thought and what worked and didn't work for them. I find that much more interesting. So Wanda as the villain, though, was a sweet twist, and I genuinely was a little surprised. I was like, oh, that's where they're going. Sweet. Because I was going to be a little disappointed if the villain was just Mordo or evil Doctor Strange, because that just reeks of like, oh, well, he's the bad Doctor Strange. Ooh, like, that's not compelling. And Scarlet Witch was exceptionally compelling. The scene at the end when she's with the kids and she starts crying, that was freaking amazing. And they released the movie Mother's Day weekend slightly on purpose. I guarantee it. For that reason. And that just worked for me. The lesson of her being like, she wanted her kids to she wanted to go love her kids so bad, but when she realizes that her kids believe she's a monster, she was going to these desperate lengths to be with her kids, and then once her kids look at her like a monster, she realizes what she's become, and then she kills herself to save the universe, sacrifices herself, kills herself, makes it sound like she just like committed suicide when like she did, but I'm saying it was more like a sacrifice type thing. And she sacrificed herself to save this like dark magic book from ever hurting anyone again. That was really compelling to me. The best villains are the ones you can relate to, or they're kind of right. And I think she has a real point where she's like, if I can be happy in this other universe, Why can't I do it? And it's like, well, it's because the links you went to. You literally slaughtered the Illuminati, which was freaking sweet. That is what worked for me. The biggest Raimi influence on this movie was I don't know if Raimi sat down and said, okay, guys, I'm going to make this a freaking monster movie, Terminator-esque movie, or if that was in the script beforehand, but I'm borderline positive it was not the script beforehand and he made it that way because I do not like horror movies. I can't stand watching them. I don't find them fun. I don't like being scared. But I love the Terminator, and that movie takes a lot from the horror genre. And when there are horror elements in a like superhero movie or, like stuff that I like when there's horror elements in a movie that's mainly action or drama, I usually love it. And Wanda in this Scarlet Witch worked for me. The horror elements I loved when she like flat out slaughters the Illuminati. Like the scene of Black Bolt when they're like, oh, well, he can blow you up using his mouth. She's like, yeah, what mouth? And then they do the freaking Matrix shot where his mouth's gone, and then he goes to scream, but because his mouth isn't there, it implodes on itself, and then his brains blow out. I was like, what? They just blew this guy's head up like Suicide Squad style in a freaking Marvel movie. Easily the most violent MCU movie. I guarantee there's some parents out there that thought, oh, it's a Marvel movie. My kids love, Spider-Man, and they loved Ant-Man. We're going to take them to this. And then they saw Scarlet Witch turn Mr. Fantastic into spaghetti. Like, okay. That was awesome. The scene where she's like full on like Carrie, like blood dripping off of her in her tank top as she tears through the facility was awesome. I was like, this is so freaking cool. And her as like this unstoppable Terminator monster movie villain just worked for me on so many levels. I loved it. I thought it was really cool. It was easily the most violent Marvel movie. And I'm not one that's like, oh yeah, violence, let's go. But like, it worked for me in this. I was like, this is so cool. And it was unique. And I think that's why I really liked it, is I've never seen anything like this in a Marvel movie. I never thought I would. And, there's some Raimi touches in here, like the scene when Baron Mordo poisons the drink that Doctor Strange is drinking when it, like, gets all wavy. And, some of those touches and or like the America Chavez, how like the portal is a flat out star. That's cheesy, but Raimi doesn't care. Like he owns up to the cheese. There's just some touches in here that I'm like, this is so Raimi, and I love it. And the scene where Professor X is in Scarlet Witch's mind, and there's the red, and it's like all white, and there's the red dust after him. That was so cool. And then when she snaps his neck through telepathy, that was insane. Like there are so many elements of this movie that I'm like, I can't believe they let Sam Raimi do that. And I think I can officially say, in my opinion, it is the best directed Marvel movie because it's the most unique, which to me, I really have been yearning for some MCU uniqueness. And the fact, I think really the only thing that comes close would be Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that's really, actually I should take this back. When I'm looking at the full list, you said best directed MCU movies, I would say Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor 3. Now, granted, they're getting a huge advantage because they're unique. I think if you brought in somebody who knows film a lot more than I do, they might, like, somebody professional. Say, I'm a big movie guy, but, like, I don't have, like, a professional opinion. If you brought in a guy with a professional opinion, they might say, like, well, Infinity War is exceptionally well directed, the way they shoot all the big fights and all this stuff. But to me, in my opinion, the stuff that really sticks out to me is Thor Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy, and this, because they're three very unique films, and I think that's what makes me appreciate them directorial-wise. So I think really Guardians of the Galaxy is the only one, right? Or Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, and this are like the trilogy of like exceptionally well-directed ones. And I guess I would say Black Panther also. But like the fight sequences in Black Panther, they could be from really most Marvel movies. They feel like most Marvel movies. This one, it's unlike anything else. And I think this to me is the true Doctor Strange movie. The first one I think is, just kind of bland in my opinion. I don't think they really understood what they were doing with the character yet. And, he's become such an integral part of the MCU, and I find that really interesting. Like, his role in Infinity War and Endgame made him, like, huge. Like, he's really popular now, and I would say like when it comes to like names in the MCU, he is like Iron Man was obviously like the big leader before. To me, it feels like Doctor Strange is like borderline the new main character of the MCU. Now, I do think it is Spider-Man. In reality, it is Spider-Man. No Way Home was huge. I think Spider-Man is the new official, like, if you had to pick a main superhero of the universe, I do think it's Spider-Man. But, like, I'm not going to lie to you, and I think Doctor Strange is borderlining on that level. Like, this movie, I don't think is, like, the top tier MCU movie, but, like, it was very unique, and Doctor Strange as a character really works. And I think he's so important to what they're trying to do with what they're building to, which I think is going to be Secret Wars. And he's just going to get more and more popular. And I think they're doing some interesting stuff with him. And like he's in a lot of MCU movies. Like he was in Thor 3. He's in both Avengers. He's in Infinity War and Endgame, big roles. Then he's all in No Way Home in a large role. Like he's just in stuff a lot, and he's good, and people really like him. So he's just becoming like one of the biggest characters. Part of the thing that hit me with this movie when Scarlet Witch turned bad and all that, I'm like, we're hitting the point of the MCU where it's like its own comic universe where it's not like they're characters. They're all just characters that you've seen go through so much, and you've seen them grow as people and change, and dynamics have shifted and worlds have shifted, and that's really interesting. Like we're far enough along in the MCU where it feels like a regular comic universe at this point where we've seen dynamics shift multiple times. So I just find that really interesting. And alongside that, I do think I'm about to go to the negatives. So let me wrap up with the positives. Last couple things that I loved. I squealed, literally squealed in my theater when Mr. Fantastic was revealed to be John Krasinski. I was so excited. I've wanted him and Emily Blunt to be Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman ever since it became like a thing. And I 100% thought they should do it. And I'm so glad they did it. I'm so happy they did it. And on top of that, they had Rachel McAdams' character. I cannot remember her name for the life of me. I forget. I think it's Claire. Maybe. I don't know. Doctor Strange's. Like, she's his love interest. What is her name? I feel stupid. But it's like. I can't remember her name. Crap. What is it? Christine. So Christine mentioned that she worked in the Baxter building, and my eyes lit up. And I looked at some of my friends. I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Fantastic Four. And then when they like Reed Richards, I squealed when it was John Krasinski. Couldn't believe it. When it comes to the multiverse stuff, my girlfriend said that they should make a like ride at Disney World where you go through all the multiverse, like different dimensions. And she's like, that would be really cool. Like when him and America Chavez were just jumping through different dimensions. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. I think that'd be really cool. And so I just want to throw that in there. I thought that was a cool idea. And then Professor X obviously being in it was really cool. I know some people didn't like the Illuminati, how they like threw him in, but then they killed them all. To me, that doesn't really matter because this is just confirming that, like, yeah, Reed Richards exists, and this Fantastic Four movie is going to have John Krasinski. So now you know, and be excited. And yes, we're working in the X-Men. Now you know, be excited because there's another universe out there with Professor X that we're going to use, so be excited. And when Danny Elfman played the freaking the freaking X-Men, oh my gosh, that was actually sweet. When Professor X rolled up in his hovering wheelchair, that was sweet. But I do think they're going to get their own cast for the X-Men. I don't think they're going to pull in all the Fox stuff. I think they're going to pull in elements that they liked. I don't know what they're going to do with Hugh Jackman. I'm genuinely going to be surprised. But I think the Professor X thing was more of a test run than anything to see what the reception was. And then I think they're going to get their own Professor X and their whole own cast. They were just going to use that. They're going to use a younger Professor X with a different actor. And so they're going to have their whole own actors. But the only reason they got Patrick Stewart is because he's like perfect. And then they can use him to like introduce the character in like an older age. And so I think they're playing us. I don't think they're using the Fox movies. I think this was just a test. I think they'll use Deadpool, and that's like it. Yeah, but Fantastic Four, that was so sweet. Here's where I guess we'll talk about negatives. Um, I think I wanted a little bit more craziness. Like I thought we were gonna go into like I thought we were gonna have like a full on multiversal clash at the end, where like 30 different Doctor Stranges came in, and like Ultron with the Infinity Gauntlet was gonna pop in, and like Tom Cruise as Iron Man was gonna come in, and it was just gonna be like this huge thing. And then we didn't get that, and like it's fine, like I understand, but it just felt like we had this huge multiverse movie. I just felt like we were gonna have this huge multiverse movie, and then it was like we went to like essentially two universes, no, three universes. There was like that just one that was destroyed where because of the incursion. Then there was our like the 616 one, and then of course there was the universe with the Illuminati. So I just thought that was a little weird. I want a little more craziness, but I think they're saving that till Secret Wars. I think they're working towards Secret Wars, and I hope slash believe that that's gonna be the movie that they just go crazy, and it's gonna be like freaking Tom Cruise's Iron Man rolling up, and they're gonna go nuts and do a bunch of crazy stuff. I think that is gonna be when everything goes crazy, and I think that movie's not coming out till 2020 like nine. Like that's gonna be, or if not longer than that, right? I mean, I still think we should get a Secret Invasion movie. I know they've announced that as a show. I don't know how you do that as a show. I feel like that needs to be a bigger deal. But like at that point, do we already do Avengers vs. X-Men and then we get Secret Wars? I don't know. I think a lot of people, including myself, expected this to be like kind of a big thing with like a lot of universe shaking stuff, and it was more like an official introduction to the multiverse. Whereas like not MCU, No Way Home hinted at it, Loki hinted at it, and like set it up, and then this like rocked it, and like introduced it. No, I don't want to say rocked it. They introduced it, and then probably we're gonna get more in the Ant-Man movie, and we're gonna get more probably in Fantastic Four, and then eventually down the line we're gonna get like a big Secret Wars. Things are gonna be crazy, and there's gonna be a lot of different stuff going on. But I was hoping that was going to be this movie, but then I'm like, it's not this movie, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I think, and that's not really disappointing on the movie part as much as like my own expectations were a little high, and I understand that, and I just think I would have liked to see a little more multiverse craziness. Another thing is, this might sound like, I don't want this to sound mean, but like, I didn't really think the girl that was America Chavez was the best. I don't know, I just felt like she wasn't there's a couple of her lines, I'm like, really? That's the best. That's the best delivery you've got for that line? I don't know if that's a bad take. I'm just saying that the girl that played America Chavez, let me look up the actress's name. But I just like didn't really dig her performance. I'm sure she'll get better because she's very young. I do not know how to say her first name, but her last name is Gomez. And she is, oh my, she is 16 years old. So yeah, she is younger than me. Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, that's wow. Okay. Now my mind is kind of blown. Not gonna lie. That's nuts. Yeah, so I'm saying I wasn't 100% in love with her performance, but she's also 16, so crap. She's only a 16-year-old actress, so I mean, she was a big part in an MCU movie, like on the literal poster. So good for her, and I'm sure she'll get better at line delivery and stuff, especially being around these really good actors they have in MCU movies. But yeah, I felt like she was a little, like just some of her lines. I was like, it's not really the best delivery of that. I felt like you could have brought a little more to it. But she's also 16, so I'm sure she'll get better. Wow, 16 years old and a huge part in a Marvel movie. That's nuts. So, yeah, good for her. But, yeah, I felt like she could just brought a little more. And there's some lines where I'm like, that was not the best delivery. So, I'm sure she'll improve. I did know she was 16. I figured she was like 20-something. So, I'm saying she has a lot of room to grow. So, I kind of feel bad criticizing someone that has a lot, like, 16 years old. She has a lot more left in her acting career. I'm sure she can improve. So, yeah. I mean, not everybody's going to be like Tom Holland in Civil War and just kind of nail it. He nailed it for me in Civil War. I didn't think she nailed it, and, I think that kind of hurts the movie some elements, but, like, on the other hand, she's probably got a lot more movies in her, and she'll be fine. But, yeah, I just felt like her performance I didn't love. I don't know, really negatives. I do think it's a little weird, like, and this is just an overall Marvel thing. Like the Phase 4 stuff is so disjointed. Like I want to know what direction we're going in because like Jeremy Jans pointed it out in his spoiler talk. Jeremy Johns, sorry, Jeremy Johns pointed out in his spoiler talk where he's like, you could cut Loki out of the MCU essentially because them killing not Kang but like the good guy Kang that was keeping everything away from being a multiverse, like created the multiverse, but it didn't do it in that moment. It did it for like all of time. So because of this, you could essentially just remove that and say there was a multiverse the whole time, right? Because there is essentially a multiverse the whole time after they killed him. It's just kind of a weird thing that like it matters, but it doesn't. Like in the grand scheme of things, if it didn't make Loki, it still makes sense. So that's just weird. But I think, yeah, this is a craziness thing. I kind of was looking, I thought we were going to get like a Doctor Strange into the Spider-Verse type thing where it was going to be a bunch of different Doctor Stranges and it was going to go crazy at the end. And we didn't get that, and that was a little disappointing to me. Like, the elements of this movie that worked for me, like, really worked, and I loved them. Like, Wanda as the villain, I loved. Her motivations, the way that they had, like, the horror elements, I loved. The cameo of Mr. Fantastic was amazing. I thought Professor X was really good. I liked... I loved the scene early on where the guy was like, hey, I was dust, and a lot of people died when I was dust. Was there any other way? And Doctor Strange is like, no, it's the only way. It's like the curse of knowledge, like ignorance is bliss type thing. Like, no one will ever, like, understand the fact that this is something else Jeremy John said, and I agreed. He's like, no one else will ever get the fact that Doctor Strange saw there was one scenario out of the, 14 million that this is the only way they win, and I just think it's really interesting. Like, I would like to see that be acknowledged. I think it's really interesting that the MCU, this huge event happened, and I think it's important to remember that. Like, it's a big freaking deal, so I think that's interesting. And yeah, the elements of this movie that worked for me, like Raimi's direction, Elfman's music, like really worked for me. Like, I love the way it's shot. And then there's other elements of this where I'm like, it just didn't feel sometimes big enough, and I think it's a little disjointed at times, where I'm like, okay, so what do we really want? Why do we really want to stop Scarlet Witch? Well, she's breaking the multiverse, yeah, but what is she doing that's so dangerous, right? And so they introduced the idea of incursions, and then like the post-credit scene, Charlize Theron jumps in and is like taking Doctor Strange around to different universes to like help him stop incursions or something like that. I don't know. I just think the MCU right now is a little disjointed as a whole, and I don't think this movie really helped clear that up. And this movie feels a little bit like that, where it's like there's elements that really work for me right now in Phase 4, which is like Doctor Strange and Spider-Man No Way Home. And there's elements that like I really don't care for, like Eternals and the Black Widow movie I didn't dig. And I think it's kind of indicative of this movie, too. Like, I feel the exact same way. There's elements I really like, and there's elements I'm like, I don't like that. I don't think that really works for me. So I think the MCU, I know they have a through line of somewhere, but I don't know where that is, and I don't know where we're going. And I think that's kind of exciting, but on the other hand, I'm worried we're going to leave a lot of stuff being like, oh, that was pointless. Like, I kind of hate the fact that all these Disney Plus shows are, like, kind of required reading, because I'm like, like, that's a lot of content, like, to consume. Like, I have a real problem with, like, watching, like, hour-long shows that have, like, 60 episodes, right? Or, like, even Moon Knight has, like, I think it's 6 episodes? Yeah, 6 episodes. And they're, like, an hour long each. Like, that's pretty doable, honestly. But, like, to me, that's so much more daunting than asking me to watch, like, 1 or 2 movies. Even though there's only, like, a 2-hour time difference between, like, if those movies are both 2 hours long, that's essentially like watching 4 episodes of Moon Knight. But it's just weird to me to think. I watched 2 episodes of Moon Knight, not even a third of the way through the show, but I'm already 2 hours of content in. And I just think it's very daunting of a task to ask people to, like, watch all the television shows along with the movies. And I'm a huge MCU fan, but I'll admit I don't really watch the Disney Plus shows. Huge Star Wars guy, don't watch The Mandalorian, and I really should, but it just feels so daunting to me. I don't know. I just get a little concerned that there's so much they're doing, and it's like, what really matters in the grand scheme of things? Like, if really, in reality, if the only thing that mattered from Loki was the scene with Kang, okay, you had a 8 hour season, 8 hour movie essentially in Loki that really only mattered for the last scene. I mean, did Eternals really only matter to get Harry Styles introduced as Starman? Right? Wasn't he Starman? So, I don't know. There's sometimes I'm like, did we really do all this effort for this one little thing? So, I don't know. But I definitely think I'm hoping for the MCU's future. I'm glad we're getting uniqueness because that's what I wanted. Now my biggest concern is, making sure we're going in a positive direction, right? Give me that uniqueness while also sticking to what you're good at, which is having a large universe. And I think there's a real balance the MCU needs to strike where it's quality over quantity. And I think right now they're doing a lot of quantity. And I would be fine with just a couple movies per year, no shows. But, Disney obviously gets bank off those shows. So I think it's really interesting to see what goes on here in the future of the MCU. I'm very excited for Thor 4. You're going to need a podcast on that. And, overall, with Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it is going to go into the banger category. And I'm going to probably see it again soon. So if things change, I will tell you on my NBA Conference Finals talk. But for what time being, it is going in the bangers, probably right next to Ant-Man and Avengers, in between those two. So it is better than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Captain Marvel, and Civil War, to give you an idea. But it is not better than Iron Man 1, Captain America Winter Soldier, Homecoming, Ragnarok, Endgame, Infinity War, Black Panther, Guardians of the Galaxy, or No Way Home. So, there you go. Now, a quick thing. I just finished Season 1 of Barry on HBO, and that show really works for me because it's 30 minutes per episode, and that doesn't feel that daunting to me. So, I've watched the whole first season in the span of 3 days. 4 days. Yeah, it was 4 days. It started Thursday, and I finished it today. So you might be like, well, Ryan, that's 4 hours of content. You're right, but that would be 4 episodes of another show, and I think that's why I know that doesn't make the most sense, but I just think I work a lot better with half-hour shows because I can watch them in smaller doses. So, I don't know, my friend really wants me to watch Breaking Bad, my good friend Noah. I'm probably going to try it for him. If I can watch Breaking Bad and really get into it and hook me, then maybe we've got a chance and I'm going to get into those Disney Plus shows and watch Moon Knight and Loki and WandaVision like I should. And Mandalorian, maybe I'll get on this kick and be able to do it. But for the time being, I have not done that. So, I really like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. If I had to give it a rating out of 10, I think it's an 8 for me. There's elements that I really like that are 9 out of 10, potentially 10 out of, I don't know if it's 10, but there are 9 out of 10 elements of it, and there's 6 out of 10 elements of it. So overall, though, to me, it's an 8 out of 10. It really works for me. I really liked it. I think it's one of the most unique MCU movies, and that's what I wanted. I do think it's weird that, I don't think this is, they've got a couple MCU movies now. I'm like, did they really sit down in 2016 and think, yes, so Doctor Strange 2, we're going to have it be through the multiverse, and he's going to fight Scarlet Witch. I 100% believe that is not what the plan was in 2016. I think they were going to do Baron Mordo as the villain, straight up, and it was going to be pretty simple, kind of like Doctor Strange 1. And they didn't do that. And so I think, I think there's a story out there with him fighting Baron Mordo that still has the story to be told. I don't know what they're going to do now that, he's been, I think, possessed by, Evil Strange, because of the 3 eyes thing at the end. I don't know what's going to go on there. I hope they let Raimi do the next one, because to me, this is this is what I wanted from a Doctor Strange movie. I wanted something kind of crazy and psychedelic and weird and interesting like this, and I loved the way how it felt different, and it was unique, and that's how the Doctor Strange movie should be. And I want Raimi to do the next one. I honestly think they should just let him do 3, so then Doctor Strange 1 is essentially just a setup for this trilogy of Doctor Strange movies he's working on. But that would be a lot of Doctor Strange, and that would mean he's one of the MCU's biggest characters, putting him on the level of Iron Man and Spider-Man. And based off the way people have people really like this character. I know a lot of people that really like this character, so I think it works for me. This movie's making a lot of money, even though that people seem to be kind of split on it. Some people love it, some people think it's not that good. So I don't know, but I really worked for me. Give Raimi the next one. Just sign him on for Doctor Strange 3. I would love to see more Doctor Strange movies. This movie really worked for me. The first one really doesn't. So if I want to watch a Doctor Strange movie, I'm going to watch this. I really liked it. So, yeah, 8 out of 10. I really liked it. So I can't wait for Thor 4. I'm sure I'm going to love that one because I love the Thor Ragnarok. So see you all in the next podcast. Sorry I didn't have a ton to say about the NBA. It's just it's pretty cut and dry for the time being. My conference finals one will be a little more in depth. But for the time being, enjoy the NBA playoffs. Go see Doctor Strange if you haven't already. Happy Mother's Day to those with mothers, which is everyone. So, there's that. And, so see you all on the next podcast. I hope you enjoyed the season finale of The Big Salad. That's actually going to be uploaded after this because Quinn and I have a special little thing at the end. I'm going to reveal the Big Finish statistics at the end of the episode. So, essentially a little post-credit scene, right? And that'll be cool, but I still have to get that set up. So, actually, the Big Salad season finale that I recorded last Monday is going to come out a week after it was recorded, whereas this is going to come out probably about an hour or two after it was recorded. So, yeah. All right, see you in the next one. I really like Multiverse of Madness. I'll say it again. One of the most unique MCU movies, though not one of the best. So, see you. Wait. My tier list, I just realized 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Based off my ranking, this would make Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness the 11th best Marvel movie in my ranking. So there you go. Now you know the number, 11th best. So see you all in the next one.